Hey, Jared 200, how are you? It's Tuesday morning, April 1st, and I decided to hold off and preparing the video because I knew you guys had something due last night, and that something that was due last night was CT2. All right, so hopefully you guys all got it in, and we're going to continue on that theme in today's lecture in terms of economic preparedness, and um, and it's structured in this way on purpose, but also it's hitting particularly hard at home because of what's going on right now with the pandemic. And I'm going to give you guys just a little couple updates, because I feel why not, have be a public service to you and to your parents if you hopefully can pass this along to them. Everybody's got their own, kind of personal story, and I thought I would share that with you. Okay. Um, First of all, I think what's important is to have a better realization of what this infection is doing and why it's so significant and why people are going, right into the emergency room, going into intensive care, and sadly the death rate is so high. And so there is a physician who works with a large group that is involved with taking scans and creating a virtual reality 3D image, and he compares to what happens in the lung in pneumonia, which is a pretty severe disease, to what's happening with this disease. And so this was from a TV station. It's kind of all over the country. So I'm going to let him describe it rather than me. Okay.
Reports.
So we can see it front to back, side to side.
It's a first of its kind view inside the lungs of a patient with COVID-19.
This patient is a gentleman in his late 50s who initially had a fever and a non-productive cough like many other people.
A patient at George Washington University Hospital in the district.
Respiratory symptoms progressed quite rapidly to the point where he did need to be intubated and put on the ventilator.
And this is a virtual reality 360-degree rendering that shows exactly what the virus does to the human body.
So what you're seeing in the video, essentially the blue part is the more normal lung, but anything that you're seeing is in yellow is lung that is being destroyed by the virus.
Dr. Keith Mortman is the chief of thoracic surgery at GW Hospital, and in partnership with a company called Surgical Theater, he used a coronavirus patient's CAT scan to create this interactive model.
It's quite alarming to see, in all honesty, because unlike your garden variety pneumonia that might affect only one small part of the lung, or unlike the common flu, what you're seeing in this video is really the widespread diffuse damage to the lungs.
Mortman's hope is that the technology can help medical professionals on the front lines, but he also wants members of the public to see these images for themselves.
It's really to educate them.
Because he says this perspective should open everyone's eyes to the dangers of COVID-19.
I really want them to be able to see this and understand the damage that's being done to the lungs, the severity of the disease that this is causing. So perhaps maybe they think twice before having a house party or going outside with large groups.
Heather Graff, ABC 7 News.
So again, that gives you a pretty significant perspective. It's what I talked about before. When the lung gets infected by the virus, all the surface of the lung, it's a very fragile membrane, and its sole purpose is when you breathe in oxygen, the oxygen then goes across the little fragile membrane, and then it gets transported into the blood. Your red blood cells then take it wherever you need it, so that you can do whatever it is you need to do. Think, contract your muscles, process food, all that kind of stuff. So when you see all that yellow damage, that's all areas where now it's no longer working. And so you're relying on what's left behind. And that's why they use the ventilator with really high pressure and high levels of oxygen to push in the oxygen to the area that remains. But as the disease progresses, you can only do so much. And so it's pretty significant. Here's another graphic, and I'll send you the link to this. This is actually just put up a website by the Bill Gates Foundation, and it's being updated, and it's modeling of what is going to happen in terms of the progression of this disease. Okay, so it's like I said, it's projections right here, and And so right now it's just looking at the United States right here, but what I like about this graphic is you can hone in on your state, okay, no matter where you are, and you can see the pace of the disease, okay. This modeling, when you look at it, it shows kind of an average level of confidence, and then it shows the range, okay. So you see right here, this is, looking at, if we have to ask ourselves, they're looking at counts right here. So the counts are things like number of beds that are needed, intensive care unit beds, and then invasive ventilators needed. Okay, so that's what the three lines are on the bottom, and then each one of them has kind of an average projection and then a broad range. Okay, of if things go well, it would be at the very low end. If things go poorly, then it's up at the high end. So you see that at the top in terms of beds needed, we have um, the projection is about 200, almost 210,000. Um, Low end, 102. High end, approaching 350,000. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my nose. I don't have anything right now. I have major allergies, though. I can tell you that right now. All right, so we can do the same thing and look down at deaths per day. And again, these are a range of projections. Some projections are much higher, much higher. Okay, I'm just letting you know that. So this particular side is very hopeful. It's on the low end. Okay, and then as we course down here to this part, it looks at the cumulative deaths. Okay, over time. And based on this projection across the country, it's going to rise, and then it's going to settle. And so when it settles like this, hopefully it means there'll be no more deaths. And this is the total number of deaths that we'll have. Okay. All righty. Um, like I said, what you can do is you can use this in an interactive way. So what we're going to do here is we could look at, for example, deaths per day. All right. So we're gonna look at states of interest. So I can scroll down here and I'm going to look at New York, because New York has been in the headlines right now. All right, and so you can see that. So you can see that New York shifted over here, the curve. Okay, so things are happening a lot faster and a lot earlier in New York. It's a bigger emergency right now. Okay, and you can see it right here in terms of the deaths and how they're peaking right now. Okay, um, the expected cumulative deaths in New York, the range could be 21,000 to 9,000, and expected about 15. And remember, this is just in about 2 months' time, so it is pretty significant. Okay, so I'm sorry, and then so what I want to do is I want to compare this to a couple other states. Okay, so we can go back up. The other state that's been in the headlines, we'll go right back up here to Louisiana. We can see where they're projected. And you see that they're on a similar pace. They have a smaller population, but the peak is significant there. Okay, so you see Louisiana, and like I said, we can compare it back to New York, and you can do it for all of the graphics, whether it's the cumulative death or the beds, um, or and we're back to New York right there. So there's a high level of uncertainty, of course, in Louisiana right now, and because things are not under control. So we can now compare this to my home state, where I'm sitting here in California, and that was my dog. That wasn't me. So I'm going to hit California right now, and you see the shift that happened. Okay, so I'm going to pause right now. Hey, Julie, can you call Bella? All right, there you go. That's our dog, and she's it's like anything else. We're like too many rats in a cage right now with all the people. So there's a lot. Like you'll hear noises and stuff like that. My two boys are home, and my one son works at UPS, and he is on the pipeline delivering goods to all of you. And my other son's a freshman mellophone player in the band, and so he's doing the same thing that you're doing. Anyway, so here's California. I just want to go back and forth and compare California again to the states of interest. So we'll look at California, and then we'll look at New York, and you'll see the shift. All right, boom. So there's New York, and we'll see the modeling in terms of, again, this is very reputable, and there's been a lot of people on it. And look at California. Okay, and boom, you see the shift. So it shows you that we got a long ways to go here in California. All right, so there's a peak expected around the 1st of May. We have a whole month. Today's April 1st. All right, so this is why all the precautions that are being made are so important. All right, cool. All righty. So what else can we say? Well, we have our individual stories, okay, that we all have to tell about what's going on. And as you know, our story I'm showing my Facebook because um, our story is that you know, my wife and your co-instructor Julia is at high risk. Okay, so yesterday, no, 2 days ago, she went down to UC San Diego Moores Cancer Center, and um, and she got an intravenous um, delivery of immunoglobulins, which are antibodies. And she does this every month because she's a leukemia patient, so she doesn't have much of an immune system. So she's at the highest risk, as are all cancer patients. Cancer patients, when you are given chemotherapy drug for even breast cancer or stomach cancer or a prostate cancer, whatever it is, the chemotherapy causes rapidly dividing cells to die off. Okay, and the most rapidly dividing cell, of course, is the cancer cell. But second in line, your normal tissue, your bone marrow, which is responsible for putting out the immune system cells to fight off the virus, is also killed off by the chemotherapy. Okay, in her case, her immune system that's supposed to divide, okay, and fight off infection is cancerous, so it doesn't respond correctly. So this is our story, you know, and so I have, like I said here, I have gone to every single infusion with her for 3.5 years, and so the first time I couldn't go. Okay, you can see it's all triage out here at the entrance to the cancer center, and so I, for 3.5 hours, was in my car working. All right, and that's just, you know, that is our story. That's a kind of a present reality. Okay, we can also look down here, and this was her inside, and yes, she has a mask to protect her from the pathogen, because when you go to an infusion center, everybody's immune compromised, and as a result, the likelihood of infection is enormous, enormous. And like I said, it doesn't matter what kind of cancer you have, right? So I thought I would share that. Everybody has their personal story. Um, what else do we have? Here's another personal story. Okay, I think my hair is looking pretty good right now, and this is because what Julie did for me the other day is she gave me a haircut. Okay, there we go. So how awesome is that? All right, so she just kind of trimmed the sides and got rid of the stuff off the top, and I think she did a good job.
Wow.
There we go. I'm excited by this. Okay, let's see how it goes here.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. Awesome. All right, cool. Let's go to the business at hand. Okay, and the business at hand is you guys need to continue to become educated, to become the best possible um, citizens, and also to be really successful in life. Okay, and so that's what we're all about. So we're going into our next module here, and I'm going to pull you. This is really important because the majority of you guys are business majors, and so we're really in the wheelhouse of what you need to do for business majors. So we talked about world economics last week, and now we're going to talk about the individual preparation people do, and then we'll get into actual nuts and bolts the following week. Okay, so we look at right here in this section, the economic preparation for retirement. My video is going to go right in here, and we want you to do some reading again. This is, if you're a business major, this is important. But also, if you're just like a human being, okay, a U.S. citizen, and you want to be financially prepared for retirement, you don't want to have to worry. This is what it's all about. So we're gonna talk about this and educate you about this. Okay. So what you do is my preference is the actual PDF file that you download here. You can also go to the link right here that will scroll through the book, but it's the PDF file you can make bigger when you're looking at it. I did put this down here because you know that we're going to have some real hard times financially as an individual basis, of course, all the way across our country, and so you know, our government recognized that, so they just passed an enormous multi-trillion-dollar stimulus package called the CARES Act. You see this right here. And so this is a really cool website to go into to look and see how the CARES Act might affect you. You look at people that are going to, you know, a lot of us are going to suffer financially from this pandemic, and it describes who qualifies in terms of getting money from the government for this, and how much money you can receive, whether it be a direct cash deposit, whether it be grants, whether it be loans. So it's a really, really well laid out website. So I throw that out to you, and I'll click on it later on. I'll send you the link as well. All right. So first, let's go back over here to what we're doing. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to increase this. Okay, to the size that's very readable. Maybe one more. Awesome. Okay, so we've got to scroll down. We're going to find the area that we want you to look at. And again, this PDF file is actually hyperlinked. Okay, so we're going to talk about economic preparation for retirement. So you can click right here. Okay, and it's going to take you right to where you need to go. All right, so you go boom and boom, economic preparation for retirement. So then you scroll down here. Okay, and I'm going to again increase it so I can read this thing. Okay. All right. So this particular publication was made available by a large academic group. Go right back up here again. Sorry. It's called the Health and Retirement Study. Okay, and so it's a well laid out document. It was looking at studies from early on in the 2004 range, and then it took it out to 2016, and they're going to be doing this again in the next couple of years. Okay. All righty. So what do we have to look at here? So it just talks about research in terms of economics. Okay, I'm getting out there. I want to get it bigger and bigger. Okay, perfect. All right, and what it is you need to do in terms of economic preparedness. Now, this is really important information because this is knowledge that you need to know, and whatever aspect of finance that you get into as a business major. Okay, so a lot of you will become financial planners, money managers, advisors to companies, advisors to people, and so it kind of breaks down what it is you need to do in terms of retirement and helping people out and be financially well provided. Okay, all right. So well, for the most part, you'll see that how people are doing pretty well. We're going to take a big hit right now in terms of the defined contribution. We're going to talk about that. That's how much money people have put into stock markets and things like that. In terms of savings, okay, your actual immediately receiving savings account. All right, so what do we have? Okay, to rely on, we have Social Security. Okay, super important, especially people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, where a majority of their income is Social Security. We have pensions. Okay, these are guaranteed percentages of your income when you retire to the day you die. And with a pension, it can either be from a private company. These are large corporations. My friend works for United Parcel Service, and they have a pension. Okay. They also have the alternative I'm going to talk about, which is what USC has, where I put the money into a tax deferred account called a 401k. It's also called the defined contribution. I define how much I'm going to contribute to this. Okay. Pension is just set up, by the company, and you don't have to put money into it. The biggest group of individuals in our society that get pensions are public officials. All right. So whether it be the police department, the fire department, the municipalities, city workers, county workers, state workers, and federal workers. So our Congress, our president gets a pension. These are all a guaranteed amount of money, and it is a burden on all of us because if this is guaranteed, the money has to come from somewhere. All right. So these pensions are paid through your tax dollars, and it's just the way it is. Okay. So it is a beautiful thing if you happen to be that person that has a pension, and for the rest of us, well, then we get our Social Security. Okay. Which is a fraction. Okay. It's not supposed to be what you live on. It's supposed to be just something that gives you a little security. Okay. All right. So that's part one. We have private savings. Okay. So this would be under that we'd have my house. Okay, so that isn't in a way it's a savings. Okay, I have equity in this home. I've invested in it. You have actual money in a bank in a money market account that gets maybe 1% interest. When the stock market's making 10% interest, but it's secure and safe. Um, and then you have your assets that are in terms of savings that are also in the stock market. Okay. All righty. So that's the three. So security, pensions, and savings. All righty. So as this article goes through, excuse me while I kind of scroll down here. Um, so what you would need to do as a financial planner, as a money manager, you'll sit down with your clients and you create a spreadsheet. And not only a spreadsheet for now, but a spreadsheet that will project 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. Okay. And you ask, your client, what are your expenses? Okay. Your mortgage. So that's, you've purchased a house. Okay. The In reality, you purchase the right to buy the house back from a bank that has put the money up front for the entire cost of the house, and then they charge you an interest rate for using their money. Okay, so every month I pay my mortgage. Okay, I have to pay property taxes. Okay, all right. So my property taxes out here are about what do I have? About $6,000 a year, almost $7,000 a year. Yeah, so that's a big thing that if I don't do it, then my house can get repossessed. Okay. If you're a renter, you have renter's insurance. Okay, so we see that here, utilities, all these things you put into a spreadsheet. Food, all right, so that's the cost of going to the grocery store, but also cost of going out. And then health expenses. This is something that we've talked about that was in the last week's reading assignment, and it is all about what you just submitted for your critical thinking assignment, and it's this whole concept of is out-of-pocket expenses. Okay, um, it includes the premium, as we know. Okay, so we have regular insurance, supplemental insurance, and then the out-of-pocket expenses for things like drugs, dental, nursing, all that kind of thing. All right, so we have that. Are you a traveler? Travel expenses. How much you predict in clothes, entertainment, on and on. So this you would do for your client. All right. All right, and it gives them peace of mind. All right, you lay it all out, and then you can say, okay, so this is where your expenses are. Let's look at your income. Okay, let's look at what your Social Security would be, and you're going to learn that if you can, the best thing you can do is delay the Social Security. Sorry, because that way you're going to have more Social Security benefit later on in life, and there's a good chance many of your clients can live up until their late 80s. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, so we can go through this and we look at the distribution of wealth. Okay, so you see here that in general, baby boomers have less wealth than the previous cohort, and sadly, each successive generation is suffering from this. Okay, it's much harder for housing. A lot more people rent. Okay, and a big part of people's wealth um, their um, lies in the value of their assets, which is their house. Okay. Alrighty. So it goes through here and it compares different people and the kind of range that you would expect. And you can excuse me, you can look at baby boomers and look across the generations and who has sufficient wealth and who doesn't. The estimate is about 20% have insufficient wealth, okay, to remain above the poverty line. And so this is going to be a societal thing, and this is going to really come hammering home over the next 10 years as we recover from the financial consequences of this pandemic. So it's something that we really have to kind of think about. Okay, all righty. Um, so as you course through the reading, you you're going to make these models, okay? And in the is it income? Is it consumption? It's a kind of a combination of the two. So consumption is that list that we just did. How much money are you spending? Okay, and then you're going to compare it to what is your income, all right? And then you set up a plan. All right. So we see over here in terms of the wealth, like I said earlier, we have Social Security. Okay. We have those people that are lucky enough to have what's called a defined benefit, and then later on, I'm going to get into the defined contribution. Defined contribution is my 401k, and if I don't live for a big company, then I'll just take the money I earn. Let's say I'm an independent businessman, and I can put that money into an individual retirement account. And we'll talk about those. Even right now, you guys can set up what's called a Roth individual retirement account. The cool thing about it is you pay taxes up front um, based on not making much money, so your tax rate is really small. And then when you access it when you're 70 years old, um, when hopefully you're going to be accessing a lot of money, you don't pay taxes on it then. Okay, everybody else, like me, I'm going to pay taxes on the money as I withdraw it once I retire. All right, cool. All righty. So we have that. Okay. They talk about wealth that is not an annuity. Okay, that's a different type of retirement asset that I'll talk about in a sec. Annuities are just, it gives people kind of peace of mind, but they have a lot of strings attached, and so you have to be very, very careful if you invest in an annuity. What it is you pay an insurance company, and then and you give them the insurance company all the money up front, and then they guarantee that they'll give you a monthly income on the back end once you retire. Um, and the amount that you could receive, just it all depends. Are you married? Do you want the annuity to be passed on to your surviving spouse if you die? It's very, very complicated. Sometimes both spouses die, then the children don't get the income. So it's a double-edged sword. Okay, all righty. All right, so let's continue on down here. Okay, so when we look, again, it talks about different studies right here, and we look at where people are at, and the thing that rings clear throughout this article, when we look at the median health, okay, of people that enter retirement is wealth. Did I say health? Wealth is almost $160,000. Okay, and that's the middle of the road. Okay, and that's 160,000 for singles. You see, if for widows, it's slightly higher because you were married, and so you're going to have transfer of assets from the spouse that died. And married households tend to do much, 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 much better. Okay, we see that right here. It's close to 800,000. So this is a combination of everything. Don't forget. Okay, and most of the money that people have in terms of their wealth is locked into their housing. Okay, and we'll see later on that in terms of retirement income investing, we are kind of in a world of hurt in this country. The median investment, so the very middle line is about $16,000 for people age 60 years of age. So it's not that great. Okay, cool. All right. So then we can, this is a verbiage that describes, the changes right here that's going on. And we can look here, and we see that married women are earning Social Security benefits through their own labor force participation. So these are the transitions that have happened, trends that have happened, okay? So we can look at the percent of people in the labor force, both full-time, as we see right here, or if you subtract that from this, that would be part-time. Okay, and this is the actual total Social Security earnings that that the individual can expect upon retirement. Okay, so we see right here that we can we see that in 2000 in 1992, we're looking at people aged 51 to 56 in this graphic, that 73% were still in the labor force. Okay, and I plan to work from 72. Okay, 2004, you see people are staying longer in the labor force. Okay, mostly males, in a majority of males, sorry, in 92, and increasing for females from 64% to 71% over this 12-year period, and it's continued to increase. Okay. We see the percentage that are working full time, and again, you see that there's a male to female disparity here, but more females are working here, and fewer males are working. So the shift, the scale's tipping in terms of gender, and we can see the disparity then that exists in terms of Social Security earnings, again, males 45 went to 55, females 16 to 26. Women earn less. Oftentimes they get into the labor market later on because they have children first. These are all factors that come into consideration. So we talk about the gender differences, okay? Women live longer, okay, and and so their money has to last longer, okay, and there's lots of disparities. Single women fare much worse than married counterparts, okay, in terms of the retirement finances, and you can just go through here and you see the worst case scenario. Divorced women are far worse off than just single women, and on and on and on. So there is this really clear gender disparity. Okay, so what can I say then? Let's get right back. Let's get into this the concept of the pension landscape, what it all means. Okay, so like I was mentioning, okay, there's been this shift. Okay, back in the day when my dad worked, he got a pension. Okay, lots and lots and lots of larger corporations offered pensions. Okay, that's called a defined benefit. Okay, um, the landscape has changed. Not very many companies want to guarantee that because people live too long and they don't want to be hamstrung like that. Instead, they ask you to make a contribution to your own retirement. It is protected from taxes, and you only pay for those taxes when you're retired and you withdraw the money. So with each withdrawal, when I'm 75, then at the end of the year, however much I withdraw, that's what I'm going to pay taxes on. Okay, the reality is when you get older, you're going to spend less. Okay, I don't have to spend money on my children. Okay, I don't have to spend money on maybe commuting back and forth from work. So the expenses should drop down. So my taxable income will drop down. Okay. A lot of companies have matching 401k programs, and this is a form of defined contribution. So so USC has a great program. Okay, so I can put in 5% of my salary, my 9 month salary every year, and then USC will match that 2 to 1. So every year 15% of my 9 month salary gets put into this um, 401k defined contribution plan. All right, awesome. Okay. Um, some of your parents or maybe you don't work for a large corporation. There's no 401k, and that's when you do your own individual retirement account that we'll talk about next week. All right. All right. So this talks about, and I really, there's something to think about when you get offered a job is what is their, do they have a pension? Like, if you work for the government or a municipality, or if it's a large company like USC, what is their defined contribution plan? All right, so why do we save? Okay, so it's pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, it's the socioeconomic, socio-demographic. Everybody has different types of expenses. Your projection is that you want to be able to continue to have income to about between 60 and 85%. When I say income, be able to withdraw that income every year after you're retired and make that, and you're going to spend between 60 and 85% of what you've done before, and that should last your entire life. Okay, that's the goal. You have unexpected costs, and we've talked about this, and these are the medical costs, and this is part of your discussion as well. Okay, so it comes in terms of the premium for your insurance, and then the extra costs that we talked about before that were things that are not covered by insurance. Okay, so it's these negative health changes that can be devastating, and unexpected problems in terms, like I said, vehicle costs. You can't afford to repair your car. Real estate can take a dump. So these are all different things that are kind of unexpected. All right. So financial literacy and planning is obviously super important, and that's where you guys come in. Now you can do this on your own, and I'm going to encourage all of you next week to go ahead and open up online your own Fidelity and your own Vanguard account. Cool thing about it, it's like playing a video game, and once you get it set up, then you can decide what kind of mutual funds you want to invest in. Are they high capital or a little more secure? low capital, which means a little riskier. You can assess your risk, um, and decide what kind of bundles of stocks you can put into it, and the fees are minimal. However, some people are intimidated by this, and that's why the financial planner career comes in, and you help people out. But for your expertise, you charge a fee, and that's just the way of the world. Okay. All righty. Cool. All right, so these are just some simple questions. That people don't understand compounding interest, compound interest. Okay, so by leaving my money in the stock market, and every year, if it has a 10% growth, well, God, I invest, let's say $5,000 when I'm in my late 20s. By the time I access it, that money could be worth $75,000. That's because of compounding interest. Okay. So, yeah, this is just mathematics, okay, and something that you should know about. Okay, cool. All righty. Ba, 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 ba. So who saves? Okay, who saves the money? Um, there's personality. Okay. Um, I think I'll never forget the recession, 2007, 2008. I was driving in the west side of LA, and there was this giant billboard, and it just rung so true. And what it said is, it said, act your wage. So I think in terms of this financial planning, you can, I want, and I want to do this, but you got to be realistic in terms of where your income is at any moment in time. So this is, and some personalities are not good at that. There's another personality. People are risk averse, and they don't invest until they don't get a big return on their investment. And we see a gender difference on that. And that's what this talks about right in here. Okay. Um, do you have a job that has this incentive? Okay. I talked about the 401k plan. Okay. Is it matching? Okay. Um, Either way, you need to think about that. All right. All right. Cool. All right. So here's kind of a stark reality in terms of the percentage of people that I'm going to get down here that are that have a retirement income. Whoa, there I am. Sorry. The money that they can either rely on because of a defined benefit. I work for a government, and that's the maroon color right here. Okay, or kind of maroon and gold like USC. Okay, I happen to work for a company that does not guarantee me an income after I retire. So a police officer would have a guaranteed income, and rightly so. Firemen have a guaranteed income. Okay, city workers have a guaranteed income. All right. And then you have the rest of us, okay, which is the goal, which is the defined contribution, okay. And you can see over time there has been the trend of decreasing availability of defined benefit and increasing defined contribution. But you see the percentages of the population are abysmally low over here, okay. Any type of coverage at all, we see that we've been tracking just below 35%. So what does the remainder of the population do? They rely solely on work, okay, so they continue to work, or they rely on their biggest asset, which is their house, and the house itself, you can draw money off it through using what's called a reverse mortgage. Um, but you don't want to be in that kind of position. I would, certainly I would love to live in this house forever, and I'd love to pass this asset on to my children. So this is why it's important for you guys to think about investing now. Okay, where does the money go? Okay, it's not. Hopefully, it's not going to pay for my children. Okay, but you know what? There's a trend too right now. The millennials, okay, the Gen Zs, everybody is having to live at home a little longer than they used to because, yeah, first of all, it's hard to get that really high-paying job that you went to college for. Rents are high. It's impossible to buy a home. All these things are adding up, and so we're having more multi-generation households. And and in reality, that's not such a bad thing because then we have kind of a family collective that help you financially, socially. If my boys had kids, then I would be watching the kids while they went to work. Okay, so that's not a bad thing. All right. Okay, so this graphic right here is looking at, we're going to scroll down here, okay, we see singles versus couples, and it's much better to be married than it is to be single, okay. We look right here at the top, total income, okay. And the income is money that comes in from still actually actively working. Okay. Um, it also is income that comes in from investing. Okay, and we see that green is married, and the income is much better than people. The income, direct income, for people that are single. Okay. If we scroll down here, we look at total wealth. Okay. When you're married, you combine your assets, and so you're going to have, both Julia and I have our own 401ks. We have the combined asset of our house that we share together, and so we're much better off, because of that. So marriage is a good thing. Okay. We look at total spending. You see more income up here, or more assets up here, total assets if you're married. But it's not like you're spending that much more. Okay, so because you got two people versus one person. Okay, cool. That's what that graph's all about. All right. So that's about it. Okay. So it's something to think for you guys to think about. Like I said, you guys are business majors, and this is what it's all about. So this is really important for you. All right. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this assignment. So we have we'll have the quiz that's based on that, and then we have the discussion. And it really just goes back into, and there's some amazing graphics in here about what you can expect based on socioeconomically and gender in terms of spending that is going to be out of pocket for your Medicare and non-Medicare covered medical expenses. And it looks at it as a function of Social Security income, and it makes projections. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly go to this right now. All right, boom. So this is the same group that what your other assignment was on, that was interactive, but it just goes through and it shows just standard graphs. Explains why they did it, the methods they did it, and then they go over their findings. Okay, so again, in the present day world, okay, 2013, you see that 41% of your Social Security income is being devoted to healthcare coverage. So that's it's a significant amount. Okay, and so we go down here and we see it all divvied up right here. Okay, and that's what this figure is all about. We're looking at the average out-of-pocket healthcare spending, and you can see that you consume 41% of the per capita Social Security income. So whatever you get that year for Social Security, 41% of it is going to go right back to healthcare costs. Okay, so that's a pretty significant amount. All right, and we see that a big part over here is premiums, and the other part is the cost of coverage that is not covered by your insurance. Okay, all right. So this is the average Social Security. Obviously, some of us are going to do a lot more, or do better. Okay, so we look at as a function of age. Okay, this percentage, okay, of your healthcare expenses that are going to dip into your Social Security, and you see again as you get older, your healthcare expenses go up. Okay, that's all that graphic's about. So you see what I'm doing down here. We can look at the disparity. Okay, so yes, they go up for men, but they go up even more so for women in terms of, again, because women are going to have, remember we saw earlier, less Social Security income, so their medical expenses are going to be the same. So it's just a math problem, the numerator and the denominator. So a higher percentage of their income is going to be devoted to paying for healthcare expenses. Okay, and that's what that's all about. It's tough. It's tough being a woman. It's not fair. Okay. Okay, this looks at it, the percentage as a function of your overall health. Okay, fair to poor. Do you have these are called activities of daily living? Do you have trouble putting your shoes on? Do you have trouble getting up out of bed? Can you make food or not? And when you have more trouble, any problem with any activity of daily living, a bigger percentage of your care is going to be outsourced. Okay, and so you're going to have to pay for that. That's what that is. Okay. We see that we said that magical number of 41% of your Social Security is going to be going towards paying for medical expenses. This is going to increase to 50% in 2030. Okay, So we can go on and on and on here, okay? Out-of-pocket expenses, again, you can expect those out-of-pocket expenses to continue to rise, okay, from 2013 to 2030 for every single age group, right? Um, all right, so rather than go through all these, I just, I want you to kind of check them all out. Um, there's a socioeconomic disparity. Okay, we see 14% of 50% of beneficiaries spend 14% of their income. Okay, um, 10% of beneficiaries spend almost 60%. These are the poor people where most of their money is going towards healthcare. So I'm sorry about that. And if we were to parse this out to the top 10%, you'd see that very little of their income is going towards that. Okay. All righty. What do I have here? I want to scroll down to the very bottom and just kind of as a final projection. You see there's a lot of really interesting graphics here. And this is just, the projections in 2030. Where 10% of your income, okay, is going to be spent on medical care. And we see here 62% in 2013 to 70%. 20% of your income, okay, you see it's going to go up. All right. Awesome. Okay, so that's what that's all about. And so then we want you to watch that and then some videos that are going to explain how Social Security system works. They're very short, they're sweet. They were done in 2012, but they still apply and they make it really easy. They talk about delaying. This one talks about delaying your income. So, some people, I have a friend that retired at age 62. All right. So he's gonna, make about 80% of what he could have made if he retired at 67. And then if I retire at 72, like I plan to, I'm going to make about 120% of what I would make if I retired at 67, 120%. So there's a huge incentive to wait. Okay. All righty. And I plan on waiting. So this is the website right here to this organization that is very, very informative. And like I said, finally, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to click on this. And so this takes you to, this is just published March 30th, 2020. Okay, so that was yesterday. Okay. And it goes through the CARE Act. Okay. Who will receive payments, how much they will receive, when they will receive the payments, how the payments are going to be made. All right. So it's really laid out well. And it just it depends on your income, and it talks about it in here. Okay. All right, guys. Cool. Long-winded lecture today, but I felt like you guys were deserving, and I want you to stay safe, peace, and fight on, and we'll see you next time.